3, 2, 1. How's it guys, and welcome to Stuff You Tech YouTube channel. I have a shopping cart with my dream build PC on it. It costs more than my car, but you know, you gotta have the best. I went and I did the exact opposite. Instead of getting all the latest and greatest components for my gaming rig, I decided I want to see what performance I can get by going onto the online store and purchasing the cheapest components that I would need to buy or to build a gaming PC. First of all, CPU. Without the CPU you can't do anything, and that kind of sets you up for the rest of your build. I went for the AMD Athlon 200 GE because why? It was the cheapest. That's why. Then for the motherboard, obviously had to get something that's compatible with the CPU. I went for the MSI A320M Pro-E, which was the cheapest I could find. I went for one stick 4 gig DDR4 2400, cheapest I could find. I went for the 128 gig SSD. I refuse to use mechanical hard drives anymore, especially for Windows. So that I bought also cheapest I could find. The case I bought cheapest I could find. It comes with a pre-installed 235 watt, amazing, 235 watt power supply, and it's got a multicolor fan on it. It also comes with a 6-pin for a dedicated graphics card. Now I know what you're gonna ask. You're gonna ask me, well, you got a gaming PC with no GPU. Are you a noob? No. The reason why I did not buy the GPU was because this CPU, the AMD Athlon 200 GE, has a better built-in GPU than what the dedicated GT710 can give me. This I only found out by actually doing some research and looked at benchmarks, and it's actually better than the GT730, which is a 2-tier jump from the 710, which is actually quite remarkable. Now, if you haven't noticed it yet, we have a Ryzen 3 200G to be exact. So the reason I got that was to do a direct comparison to see if you were to buy this whole setup and you would drop the GT710, which is something I right up front would say, do not buy the GT710. It is a complete waste of money. The only way you would need to buy that is if you're a moron. That would be the only reason. By just spending our money a little bit more wisely, we were able to see quite a significant jump in performance. Now, let's build it.
So the first thing we need to do is to get the motherboard on top of an anti-static bag, and that on top of the motherboard box. Once you've done that, you've got a workstation to work with. You can then go ahead and install the CPU. Just follow the instructions that comes with the CPU, and then you can go ahead and install the CPU cooler. We would then need to go and install the memory. Again, just make sure that everything lines up into the socket that it is supposed to be going into, and don't forget the I/O shield. Once we've done that, we can get the case ready. So I just got all the panels removed first to make sure that I've got access to everything. Our power supply that actually came with the case was not pre-installed, so we had to get it pre-installed, although they do come as a pre-installed configuration. Ours was just not pre-installed for whatever reason. Make sure you insert the I/O shield first before you install the motherboard, otherwise you're going to have problems later trying to remove the board and then put the I/O shield back. This is an awesome time to get some cable management going. Our power supply also had a 6-pin. The graphics card that we're going to install in our next upgrade build it was a RX 470, but it required a 8-pin. So I just pre-installed already the 6-pin to 8-pin PCI Express power adapter for that upgrade later down the line. Once you've installed the motherboard, I recommend turning everything on after you've connected obviously all the power connectors from the power supply to make sure that the system actually boots. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and just finish cable management, install some of the fans with the fan power and the hard drive and or SSD. So there you have it, guys. I'm quite happy with this build. It looks cool. I think it looks cool. It looks good in the day. It looks very good at night. So it doesn't matter day or night what it's going to look like, especially if you're into the Christmas vibe. I think we do need to upgrade that CPU to the Ryzen 3 3200G, and we're probably going to throw in a dedicated RX 470. So because this thing has a built-in graphics card, we are forced to install the Radeon drivers for the Vega 3 onboard graphics card. So just done that, and it looks like we are good to go to try and test some games on this bad boy. So finally we're at the point where we can run some games. We just started with Diablo 3, but we also gonna play some games that you would potentially play with this setup. Looking at the results, I don't think there's anything that's really surprisingly here. We've got 720p versus 1080p, and obviously 1080p would have lower performance than 720p would have. The difference is not that much when we look at games like Diablo 3 and Guild Wars, but in the other titles like Dota 2 or League of Legends and Counter-Strike Global Offense, CSGO, there seems to be quite a few frame difference. Again, this is not taking you from unplayable to playable. So if you look at 720p, the lowest is in Guild Wars, obviously, which seems to be more graphic card intense. League of Legends, which you can basically play with a potato, seems to run quite well. Dota 2 a little bit less so. Diablo 3 a little bit less so as well, and then CSGO also a little bit less as well. So these are mostly competitive online games, and if you're having frames like this, you probably are at a disadvantage. So I would not recommend sticking to this setup for any of those online games except for League of Legends. So coming back to our budget, we've obviously freed up some money because we didn't go for the GT 710 dedicated graphics card. We also did not go for the Cooler Master case and the Corsair power supply. The reason for that is I got this case and power supply for about $40, which is about 500 to 600 Rand at the current value. So I was able to get a couple of bucks extra there, and then obviously not getting the graphics card freed up even more budget. So what we're trying to do is, if we drop the AMD Athlon CPU as well, so that means no 710 graphics card, no Athlon CPU, and half the price on the case and power supply, are we still able to get a 3200G Ryzen 3 CPU and combine that with a dedicated 470 graphics card. And all of those upgrades will be coming in our next video, where we really take this system for a spin with a proper CPU and a proper graphics card, and all staying in the same budget. So if you've liked this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to subscribe, click on that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our future videos.
What I've done is I've just added some games to it. So I think, first of all, let's try... What can we try? Let's try... Counter-Strike, go. So we'll do some CSGO. First time running this on this PC. Let's see. So while I'm waiting for this driver to download, this case has about
5 or 6 fans installed currently, with the 3 at the front, 1 at the back for the exhaust, we've got the CPU fan, and we've got a fan on the power supply.